Hello everyone, welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. Today I want to talk about the final book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Return of the King. I finished it, I loved it, and I can't wait to talk about it. So this is the third video I'm making for this book series. I will link both the first one, which was The Fellowship of the Ring, and also The Two Towers down below if you would like to go check out my thoughts on either of those books. I really loved picking this one up. I could not believe how excited I was for this one. And I just wanted to stay in Middle Earth. And I think this is one where it ended at the right point, and I won't miss it in that way, but I will miss being in this world, if that makes sense. I am not a big fantasy reader, but this hit the spot, if I do say so myself. So in regards to this one, I definitely loved the character arcs of all of the characters. Pippin is probably still my favorite. I gotta say, I love Pippin. I just love Pippin. And Merry too. Now, because this is the third book in the series, I will be giving spoilers. So please go check out my first video if you want a spoiler-free somewhat idea of the series. As this is the third one, I will be doing spoilers, and I am not sorry about it. So where to start with this one? I honestly can't tell you where I want to start with this. I guess we'll just start with Pippin, who's my favorite. I just really loved his growth from the first book all the way to the end of this one, and just past even the typical ending of the movie. I loved the way he acts at the final few chapters. And when I was reading the last few chapters, I was a little confused because the climax had already happened. But then as we were reading the final couple chapters, and then they have to go save the Shire, I was really actually enjoying that. I felt like that was so true to a true war and things that actually happen in war-torn countries where it's not over just because the battle is done. It has to continue on, and they still have to clean up and solve problems. So I really did appreciate that, and Pippin's role in that, and Merry's role in that, and Sam's role in it were all just so great. I couldn't believe how much I loved seeing their growth and their confidence in their abilities, and the fact that they were able to get everyone who were causing troubles gone. They were able to remove so many bad characters from the Shire just because of their sheer strength and sheer confidence, and then them riling up the people to join them to create this mob mentality against those who are oppressing them. I really enjoyed seeing that justice come out and seeing that correction of the world. I really did love that, and I love that they didn't need Gandalf or Gimli or Legolas or Aragorn to do that. They did it themselves. And that's something I think that when they left on their journey, they would have never been able to do. So I loved their growth as characters. And then Frodo, I really appreciate the fact that his pain never left him. The wounds that he had received from the very beginning of the Fellowship, or when he was on his journey at the beginning, those wounds never left him, and that pain never left him. The ring never lost its grasp on him, and so he really struggled with that his entire time in Middle Earth. And I really found that to be very, very telling, especially if you look at the ring through addiction or the pains and the traumas that he went through. He would not have just walked away scar-free. He would have had trouble, and I was glad to see that being represented in here too. Now, the whole big battle scene was just, it was a little bit to keep my mind on because of the different timelines that you read from. When I was reading this, you're following Pippin, then you're following Merry, then you're following Legolas. Well, even then, you're not really following Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli because they tell later their story. But you hear all of these things, and then you see suddenly Frodo and Sam trying to go anywhere, and you just hear randomly, and this is when that was happening. And it's really hard to keep track of the timeline, but it felt like it was a genuine war. It felt like you're seeing it from all points of view at the same time. And I really loved that quality. I also really, really love Sam. He is such a great character. And I mean, Frodo is great too, but Sam is just so wonderful in the way that he He gives up everything. And the fact that he's not changed after really speaks to his center and his sense of worth. He does not need the glories of the battle. He does not need the glories of being assistant to the ring bearer to be confident. He actually is that on his own. He knows who he is, and he does this out of a love for Frodo and a duty to the world. And he doesn't care if it's going to be destroying him or giving him glory. He does like the idea of being sung in songs, but he doesn't change his perception, his personality. He doesn't change his power as to be power hungry. He really is centered. He really knows who he is and what he values and his qualities, and he's not afraid to, admit that he's a little weak in points or he isn't the best at certain things, because he knows his strengths and he knows his core value, which is wonderful to see in a character. Now, I also really loved Faramir and Eowyn, I believe is how you pronounce her name. I just thought that was such a side romance that actually really worked. And I liked how it was just kind of pipped in there, and you could see that bond develop over her chapter, but it was still really great to see. I really liked seeing that little snippet of what's war like when someone's stuck in a hospital bed and they can't get out to fight the war. Now, also with Faramir, I gotta say, there are some extreme cliffhangers in here that I knew that this happened. I knew that Faramir almost dies by being burnt to death. I knew it because I watched the movies. But the chapter ended with Pippin trying to find Gandalf. And then the next chapter, after he's found Gandalf but nothing's happened yet, we switched to Merry. And I was so mad at Tolkien for that cliffhanger. So mad, even though I knew the ending. So good job to Tolkien for the cliffhangers, for sure. Now, another thing about this was I really loved how Aragorn served his people. He did not come in as a reigning ruler. He did not come in to disrupt the sense of power. He came in and took care of his people. He went straight to the House of Healing and started healing them, and he looked down on those who thought it was ridiculous, or he looked down on those who were power hungry and wanted to go straight to battle. He needed to do this healing first of Faramir, who, if you think about it, would actually be the biggest threat to his ruling as king, as he is the son of the steward who just died. So technically, Faramir is steward, and he would be taking Aragorn's place if Aragorn died. And so he chose to take care and heal Faramir first. And then he chose to heal Eowyn, and then he went to battle. He came as a healer first and foremost, and he came to serve his community, or his lack of a community at that moment, but he came to serve the people who he was going to be king of. And as I'm saying that, I do recognize that this has a lot of biblical themes, this series, as Tolkien was a Christian. This book is full of metaphors and showings of Christian values, and I don't want to get too much into it, but the thing about grace in this book is just so prevalent. You have Gollum, who's given chance after chance after chance. He's being extended grace many, many times. And yes, he's beyond the point of redemption, and he does have a big role in destroying of the ring, because he does bite off Frodo's finger and destroy the ring with himself as well. But he's given those chances. He's given that grace, that possibility to change his ways. And then you get the same thing with Wormtail, mixing up Harry Potter here, Wormtongue, and his ability, and he's constantly given this grace and given the chance to turn away from this evil intent, and he doesn't, but he's given that chance. And then Saruman, when he is given this chance after chance after chance after chance, and this grace every time, it's amazing the amount of grace that these characters are given, and yet they spurn the grace. And this is something that is quite a common theme in this book, where some characters spurn the grace and others receive the grace. I really just love that imagery in this book as well. Okay, so there's a couple more things that I want to talk about Return of the King. Now, the first thing is the pacing. The first book, I felt this dragged. It was so slow. I felt like 10 decades had passed, like 100 years had passed in the reading of the Fellowship of the Ring, and sometimes they were always traveling and stopping and traveling and stopping and traveling and stopping. And then the Two Towers hit, and it was just action, full on action, whole book long. And in this book, action, action, action until the last few chapters, when like chapter 7 or something of the last book, it's got slow again after the ring was destroyed, and then they'd go through all of the greetings and everything. It felt like it was a little slow, but then they got back to the Shire, and then they started cleaning up the Shire out of people who did not belong and who were tormenting those around there, or cleaning up the actual debris and actual darkness that was there. And I really did enjoy that. Now, with the whole pacing thing though, I think it makes sense in light of looking at it as a whole book. So not just looking at the Return of the King as a book, but looking at the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and Return of the King as one singular book. Because that makes a lot more sense to me with the pacing. It still would be a little waves of little waves of slow and then fast and slow and then fast. But I do think that it makes more sense with the ending then if you're looking at it that way, because then it actually really ties in with the end. And must I say, Bill the Pony is so good. I loved that line at the end. I must read it for you. Bill Ferny flinched and shuffled up to the gate and unlocked it. "Give me the key," said Mary, but the ruffian flung it at his head and then darted into the darkness. As he passed the ponies, one of them let fly with his heels and just caught him as he ran. He went off with a yelp and into the night and was never heard of again. "Neat work, Bill," said Sam, meaning the pony. Sam is such a great caregiver to Bill, the pony, and it's just such a wonderful, like, little friendship kind of thing, a little ownership. And Bill is the strong follower of Sam, even to the end of the book. So he is a character that is not really present, but that was a great moment at the end. So all in all to say, I give this 5 stars. I loved this. Please leave a comment down below about Return of the King if you've read it, or if you are interested in it, because I did give a bunch of spoilers, but it's so worth the read. I will talk to you in the comments below. I will see you next time with another video. Bye for now.